So the amount of waste that will come from the kitchen of both the students will be between 5 and 10 48-gallon toters. So that could be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 pounds a week. The benefit of that is, from an environmental perspective, is it's now not going to the landfill and creating methane, which is 22 times more potent than CO2. It's now being turned into a usable product and going back to grow food. And so that's a huge comparison difference between landfill and composting and creating more nutrients for the soil.
I think composting is taking like old food and old plants and turning it into fertilizer to grow new food and new plants.
Composting is when you take your leftover food that came from a plant and you take it and you put it in a composting bin, which breaks it down into little tiny pieces of dirt.
Composting is a biological and microbial process where you combine the proper amount of carbon and nitrogen, or browns to greens, moisture and air to give an environment conducive for microbes to thrive, as well as fungi and beneficial bacteria. And in the end, you end up with black coals, nutrient-dense soil. It'll help in many ways. I think the biggest thing is the ripple effect of the education about saving a vital resource and looking at waste as something that can be reused as opposed to just throwing it away and forgetting about it. And the benefit is not only that on the front end of the education, but on the back end, the school will receive the soil, so it just kind of closes the loop on the education process.
You use the dirt from the composting to grow other plants, so you can have food from the leftover food that you never ate.
So the idea is we're taking the heaviest weight out of the dumpster, and so the benefit of that is a reduction in the size of the dumpster, the weight of the dumpster, and the amount of pickups needed as well.
I think composting is important because if you don't compost, then you have so much matter just growing in your landfills. Eventually you're going to run out of space, and when you could just like biodegrade the plants and the food to make more plants and food, why would you pile it in the landfill?
If kids grow up that way, as this being second nature and an understanding, no matter where they go in life or in the world, it's just going to be something they expect, which is really the whole goal of working with schools, is that education piece where we all kind of grow up as individuals that understand that you know, we need to make this change. It doesn't matter what your political preference is, how you grew up, who you are, you want to do it and you understand that it makes sense. And so what we try to explain is that whole closed loop. If we say, okay, you like buying local food, you like stimulating the local economy, you like keeping your money in the U.S., well, this is another part of it. If we take that resource that's getting discarded and we turn it into soil, and we return that soil back to schools, back to gardens at homes, back to farms, that's hugely beneficial to the local economy, and that's what sustainability is all about.
Before the invention of garbage disposals and chemical fertilizers, composting was a pretty ordinary thing. In fact, ever since the first farmers planted their own gardens, people used organic waste for their soil nutrients. Even George Washington and Thomas Jefferson promoted the use of compost. Nowadays, though, Americans end up throwing away up to 97% of our food scraps into landfills. And less than 5% of that is composted. But luckily, at ORMS, we're using that food to turn garbage into garden gold.
It has to be not just something we target environmentalists or hippies or people that are in the know already, but that we make it something where everyone understands it. If we can present it in a way where it just makes sense to people, then we'll get more of the people on the outside edges, the skeptics, the people that think you have to be a certain way to do these things. And so that's a huge part of us moving forward. My name is Ryan Bedard from Mr. Fox Composting.
My name is Ben.
I'm Caden, and I'm glad Oyster River composts. Bye.